I'm Kaja Elliott, and I'm a food enthusiast. Bronx born and raised, ATL made, Bay Area becoming. And I talk to people about how they create community through food in the Bay and beyond. Welcome to the As Told By podcast. We're back with a new episode of the As Told By podcast. I'm back on the road, y'all. I'm in Napa today with my guest who comes from a family deeply rooted and involved in the restaurant industry. She knew all along her life would be centered around food. She is a former attendee of Johnson & Wales University, graduating with a degree in baking and pastry arts, and would go on to intern and work at some of New York's most renowned restaurants. As a pastry assistant and pastry chef, a move to California would eventually lead her to turn her passion for baking into her own business with Rory's Bake Shop, the very popular bakery here in Napa. And unexpected life events would lead her to share her story, which is why I'm here to talk to her today. So welcome, Rory Kandel, to the As Told By podcast.
Hi there.
Hi. How are you?
I'm very good.
Thank you so much for letting me come crash in your office today.
Anytime.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, this is our first time meeting. Like many people who are on this podcast, I came across your business just perusing Instagram. Mm-hmm. And of course, first and foremost, the baked goods drew me in. But then you drew me in because you were sharing things about your life and your story. And I became more and more interested because if you listen to this podcast, you know that more than anything, it is the confluence of stories of food and business and life and human interests that really make up what this podcast is all about. Mm-hmm. And you was like, check, all those boxes. So I'm glad to talk to you today.
I'm really happy to be here.
All right, let's start off with the signature question.
Okay.
What kind of food family do you come from?
I come from a family that, my parents wake up in the morning and the first question is, what's for dinner?
Hey.
And that has carried on into my life, into my brother's life. Food has always been this sort of string that holds us all together. Whether it's my mom calling me in the morning and saying, I made this last night, I'm going to send you the recipe, or asking me what I'm going to be making. I would say food is our number one joy. It's for, good times, bad times, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that sounds like a lot of people. I'm about to say, Rory, we could be related because that sounds like my food family too. I know that we are both New Yorkers.
I am very much a New Yorker. It doesn't matter how long I'm in California. I have something at my core that is not from here. And people call me out on it all the time, and I'm proud of it. I am open, I'm honest, I'm direct, and I will continue to be that way. Yes.
I'm from the Bronx, born and raised. I agree with you. It's been 20-something years since I lived in New York, but I always say if I get very angry or very excited, either way, very quickly, we will be teleported back.
Oh, yeah. And my whole family is still back east. So
okay.
I am the one person who has left the area. Mm-hmm. And it has softened me after 20-something years. But as soon as I go home, I feel like I'm home when I go back east. Yeah. And then it's hard for me to come back here. Then I come back to California and I think, it's really nice here too. So eventually my hope is to live bi-coastally, but who knows if that will ever happen. But I'd love to have a home back east, just to be near my family. And I'm very nostalgic, which if you follow me at all, you would know. And so the East Coast has a very deep place in my heart, and I associate myself with it. I would never consider myself a Californian, even if I'm here for the rest of my life.
She made that good and clear.
Yes.
It's a special kind of upbringing living in New York. It's so different and not replicatable in other places. And, I certainly have come to love and appreciate California for all it is. I've been here now 12 years. There's things I love about it so much. And when I had an opportunity in the last 5 years or so to move back to the East Coast post-COVID, I opted not to do that. But I'm right there with you. At my heart, I'm a New York girl.
Me too. Always. My whole family's from New York. It just feels like I mean, when people ask where I'm from, that's where I'm from. Yeah.
So I said that in the intro, you went to Johnson and Wales, and you worked at a lot of the prominent New York restaurants. Some of them aren't operating anymore.
This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I grew up in the age of architectural desserts, and I grew up with grandparents who lived in New York City. And so I grew up in Long Island, but my parents would take me to the city almost every weekend. I didn't realize at the time it was to get a break from kids. I thought it was like, amazing, we're going to the city again. My grandfather owned a restaurant in Midtown, Smith's Bar and Grill. It was very well known. It was historical until it was purchased by a dispensary this year, which is a little sad. But, restaurants and dining out in Manhattan were every occasion for us. So I definitely grew up with this idea of, I don't know exactly what this is about or how I can be involved in it, but I want to be in this life. And my mother is an avid cookbook collector and cook. She was an artist, but she definitely had an outlet in cooking and baking. So I was always in her cookbooks, and we were always making things together. She was taking Chinese cooking classes before anyone was even, owning a wok, I think. So, like I said, food was our everything. And so I decided, after being not a really popular kid in high school, I was always doing my own thing, and I was very much, I wasn't fitting into the mold so much that I was ready to just go. I wanted to bake. I wanted to go to Johnson & Wales. They had a program where you could, with the right classes, graduate high school a year early, which I did. I was a very good student. And so when I was 17, I went to college in Providence. Sure that I wanted to bake, and, I didn't really think much past that, but I knew that I was just so drawn to restaurant life. So I spent 2 years at Johnson & Wales, and then I should have spent another 2 years and gotten my bachelor's degree and gotten a business degree, in restaurant management, but I was ready to work. So at 19, I moved back to New York City. My grandmother still lived there on 57th Street, and I moved.
You were right in the heart of the city.
I was very, very lucky. So I lived on 57th Street. I worked at the 21 Club right out of the gates, and that is just, it's a mecca of, it's been there forever. There were ghosts, they would say, and it was a very interesting place to work. The summer prior, I had worked at Oriole, Charlie Palmer's original Oriole on 61st Street, and I had just gotten a taste for this life, and I wanted to be in it. I wanted to be working late. I wanted to be out in the city late. And, you start out in pastry in a restaurant in New York City, you're plating desserts. So you're the last person leaving the restaurant. But I fell in love with it. And so that was my sort of intro into the restaurant life and really living it. And I just fell for it completely.
Yeah. It's interesting listening to you say that, because as I talk to people on this podcast, I do, there's some polarization. Some people really like the hustle and the pace of restaurants, particularly in a city like New York. And for some people, it was the thing that sent them down the road to go do something else.
Oh, absolutely. I can understand that. But I have never been a person that wanted a job that I was going to be sitting at a desk or that I was going to be, using a computer. I needed it to be tactile. I needed to be creating and laughing and talking and working and getting energy out. I'm very type A, and I'm definitely a very anxious person. So having a place to put that energy while I work was really important and has continued to be important, this many years later.
I love that, because it's the process of baking. It really is. I find, of course, I'm not a professional baker, but I do enjoy it. And there is such a sense of meditativeness
100%
in being able to take something from all these little individualized ingredients and sit there and work it, and then it's the
repetitive nature of it.
Yeah.
I really love repetitive jobs. I find them really calming and soothing, as I'm sure most people who do repetitive jobs feel that you're drawn to like the regularity of it.
Yeah,
there's the half of that where sometimes it gets really boring. I've done this how many times, but there is comfort in it.
Yeah. My hair braider says that a lot. Braiding hair, she says it's meditative.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. you were having a lot of success over your career, landing in some of the well-regarded places in the food world. So I know that you've spent some time at the Ritz-Carlton. You've spent some time at Bouchon here in Napa. Your business is what I would call a COVID pivot, right?
It is,
so
100%.
The restaurant business went up in 2020, and so many people, that was the turn point for them, right? So one thing I want to ask, so many people I talk to say, if COVID hadn't happened, I wouldn't be doing this business. And it's the school of thought for me about moving on things because we lost something else versus just moving on things just because it was what we wanted. If COVID had not happened and kind of put you in a space where you needed to do something else, do you think you would have done this?
No, because fear was holding me back. Once COVID happened, and we had that period of time where there was nothing you could do. The government was sending us money. I was in the hospitality industry, and so that had come to a grinding halt. And when I started this out of my house, I literally woke up. I'll never forget it. It was like March 20th, and I was laying in bed, and I made a Facebook post. Does anyone want cookies in the neighborhood? Everyone knew I was a baker, although I had spent 8 years waiting tables at Bouchon and then 4 years selling wine at Farniente. So that what had been the current job I was in was as a wine educator when COVID hit. But it had always followed me that I was always baking for people. And a lot of people were on me all the time. When are you going to start a business? When are you going to start a business? And to be honest, that is such a daunting question to ask someone. What does that even mean? How do you begin? Where is the starting point? There's so much to do, and if you look at it as a whole, you'll never start.
Yeah.
The best advice that anyone ever gave me was like, one thing at a time, one small thing towards your goal every day will get you there a lot faster than just looking at the whole thing, feeling scared and never doing it. And I was a single mom. I was not sure how to begin a business, and I wasn't sure what kind of business I wanted. I knew I had a vision for what it would look like visually, which I have my Dutch door now, and I have this like pass-through window that I always wanted. But I never wanted a traditional bakery. And so when I sent this post out during COVID, a lot of people wanted cookies. But I quickly realized I have a really regular oven at my house. I cannot be baking all of these cookies. And as a pastry chef, I knew how much could be frozen and then baked off from the freezer. And we are a unique bakery here because we are a bake-at-home bakery. Yes, we do sell ready-to-eat items, but most of what we sell is frozen and meant for my customers to bake at home. So they can have the experience of the freshest and getting the smell, which I find the smell of fresh baked goods and the emotional connection of that is like 50% of the joy. The joy is not just in eating it. It's in the magic of what happens and transpires through the baking process. And so it dawned on me, and I started to offer cookies frozen. And that was really the starting point of this business. It was not planned. It wasn't thought out. It wasn't some like, I've been jotting these things down every day. It was just in the moment, I said, I think I'm going to start offering them frozen so you can bake them yourself. And that was the beginning.
And that's the cheat code.
Yeah.
Right. You just come and get it and take it to your house and probably, throw some dishes in the sink and you can act like it was all your work.
And if it's wrong, it's your fault now. No.
I love that. So it went from a home-based business to, what I'm sitting in today. Primarily take and bake. I love the little window here, that people can walk up to and get things. What are you known for? What's the specialty here?
I would say our laminated scones and our giant cookies. We make scones. I use that term loosely. A scone is really just a mixed dough. It's cut, it's baked. It's not a big deal. We make very intricate, like I said, scones in quotation marks. They are a laminated buttermilk dough that we layer with everything you can imagine. Any kind of sandwich you've had, fresh summer fruit. We've done probably at this point at least 40 flavors. And that's the draw. But our giant cookies also, they are in some grocery stores because really I'm hoping to have a nationwide business and become a CPG brand. And so, but that's a whole other pivot. And so it's very slow going, but we are chipping away at it. Yeah.
Okay. Little by little. I'm smiling as you say this. You may be fascinated to know. In my mind, if someone asked me, do I like scones? I would say no.
Most people say no.
Because my experience of a scone, every time I've had one, is dry. There's crumbs everywhere.
Oh, I know.
It just was not enjoyable to eat. But
we hear that every day.
There you go. So you're
I never
not
liked scones before, but then I had yours. And although I know they're not traditional scones, they are still scones, and and everyone loves them.
Yes. Look, I'm willing to be converted. So we talked about the bakery window in the kind of take and bake format. So tell me about how this works. So you open, I'm here after you've already closed for the day, but do people like line up out here? How does it work?
On the weekends they do. Okay, so we have a website. Every Sunday, I'll send an email out. I'll do a different pie that is ready to eat. So I do make a lot of pies also. This is a very American-based bakery. We are not doing croissants or Danish or any of the millions of laminated products you see at the most popular bakeries around here and in the city. Mostly because it just doesn't drive me. What drives me is, what your grandmother and your great-grandmother were baking and have notes on a little notepad about. That is what excites me about this. It is not French pastry. I'm sorry to anyone that insults.
That's okay.
French pastry is beautiful.
We have plenty of those.
It's not my thing. And so people can order on throughout the week for pickup Friday through Sunday for those weekly specials. They can also order frozen scones, frozen cookies, but you don't have to pre-order. You can also just come to the window and try your luck. We do make smaller pies for the window, typically on the weekend. So if you don't want a full-size pie, but it's just like you and your husband or whoever, you can come get a little 7-inch pie and have just like a special dessert.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the frozen cookies, do people buy those like by the dozen? Or
they come by the dozen. All of our flavors come by the dozen. And then we have our giant chocolate chip cookie, and those come in 6 packs because it's a much larger cookie.
Okay. Like one of those little cookie cakes?
It's like not like a cake, but they bake to be like a pretty good size. I don't even know how I would.
Okay, maybe a CD. The way you're holding your
like
hands
a CD.
Right now.
It's about the size of a CD. The package comes with parchment paper, individual parchment paper, and Maldon salt. So you have the whole kit at home. When I put the kit together, I thought when my kids were little and I would bring home a toy, and then you would find out, it needs this special battery. But of course, I don't have that. And, you open the toy and your kid wants it immediately. So I didn't want people to get home with the cookies and have the bag say on parchment and have them say, I don't have that. I'm really anti-baking on foil. And so my head goes to people will use foil if they don't have parchment. So I'm putting parchment in there.
Okay, wait. Let me pull up the break for a minute.
Okay.
Because I grew up baking on foil. It was only until recently, and I would define that as maybe the last 3 to 4 years, that I started baking on parchment, just because I would see that as a standard. But please enlighten me on why
foil is going to create a darker bottom on anything you bake on it. It generates heat in a different way than the parchment. And so I find cookies, like, they get too dark on the bottoms if they bake on foil. So yeah.
That's why
it's not a health reason.
That's why you're the pro.
Yeah.
I'm just doing things and don't really know why I'm doing
I mean, I think most people would bake on foil. I just wanted, if you're going to give somebody something to bake, you want to set them up for success. The goal is that the product is not disappointing when they bake it. I would say, though, a lot of people probably feel like if something is wrong, like they did something wrong, user error. And that is possible because I've heard a multitude of things that people have told me that they've done where I sort of say, oh my God, why would you do that? But
we did not tell you to do that.
Right. But once you buy it, you can do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to still set you up for the best success you can have. So yeah, the giant cookies do come with parchment. Also because cookies and the spread of a cookie, you wouldn't know if you haven't baked it. Is it going to spread really large? Are you putting them, too close together? So the size of the parchment sort of dictates that these cookies aren't going to run together if you bake multiple, because you have to space them out a certain amount.
Oh, so this is well thought out.
Yes.
Okay. You've accounted for all the things.
I have.
Yeah. Well, definitely, your expertise is on full display, and it's no wonder that you have a bakery that's, really known and loved in the area. And so, you're trucking along and then things start to change. And this is where I found out a little bit more about your story, because you have recently, and I think it's maybe been under 2 years.
It's been about now 2.5 years.
Oh, yeah. 2.5 years. You had an MS diagnosis, multiple sclerosis. So let's take a step back. For people who may not know, tell me a little bit about what that means. And then I would love to know, when did you start to feel like, oh, something is off? Like, looking back, how did it start where you could notice something was happening?
So I was diagnosed on December 1st, 2023. I'm sure most people remember the day they were diagnosed with something like this. I would say that the summer of 2023, I started to do a lot of, or notice that I was combining words when I would be at home talking with my family, or just sort of having what I would say were weird cognitive things that were only noticeable to those closest to me and to me, so much that they would kind of make us laugh, I'm losing my mind or whatever. Nothing that I could go to a doctor with and say, this is happening, because it wasn't with regularity, and it wasn't something that could be explained. But it was something that we were noticing. Something seems weird, but it's not extreme, and it's not hurting anyone. I'm not in pain from it or anything. But then flash forward to September, I was here working one morning, and I felt like my pants were really tight, or my underwear wasn't fitting me in the weirdest way. I was wearing pants and underwear that I wear all the time. And I went in the bathroom and I was like, oh, it's just so weird. And then I noticed that my thigh and my sort of flank, side of my body was almost numb, but I could feel it, which is, I've found out now, nerve pain sort of can cause numbness and altered sensation at the same time. Okay. So that was strange, but I had done a Pilates video that I had never done before, a few days prior. And so in my mind, I thought, well, I must have stretched weird, or I did something I'm not used to doing. But when I told my, I'm going to call it my husband. I'm not really married, but I have the same.
Come on and claim that man.
Partner for 15 years.
Yes.
He may as well be my husband.
He's
but
probably
anyway,
more of a husband than a lot of people that got
it. He definitely is. He is my husband. But anyway, okay. I told him, and he didn't like the sound of it. And he was like, you should probably call the doctor. So I got in touch with my doctor, who told me to take ibuprofen and give it a week, the usual. And so I did, but, the week went by and it remained just as strange. And something just doesn't feel right. But one thing to know about MS is, I would say most people who get an MS diagnosis go through months of something doesn't feel right without anyone being able to pinpoint what it is. So it was a struggle. I went back to the doctor time and time again. This is not getting better. Finally said, I need to see a neurologist because something's going on. We don't know what it is. And so I had my first, a month later, I had my first appointment with a neurologist, and they, immediately ordered MRIs. We don't think there's anything wrong, but we're going to take a look, And so that was a little bit scary. I would say the first time you're in an MRI machine, having a brain MRI, I remember crying, thinking about my kids, and we can know ourselves, but we can't see inside of ourselves. So now there's a machine looking at my brain, and a million thoughts are going through my head. And I'm really sad, honestly, that I'm even in this position. But I got a call a week later that they had found some lesions on my brain, and those are scar tissue, but that they didn't see any on my spine. And so they couldn't correlate the issues that they saw in my brain with my right leg, because the lesions were on both sides. And so they didn't have a really good feeling. And so the message I got was, you need to have a spinal tap. And I know that sounds scary, because for me there could have been nothing scarier than you need a spinal tap. Yeah. And then they said, but if you want to put it on hold for a year, you're more than welcome to. Now, I'm really close to my family, and my mom immediately said, you are not putting it on hold for a year. You have to find out if, God forbid, there's something wrong. So, right after Thanksgiving, I went for the spinal tap. And the doctor that did my spinal tap looked at all the MRIs because he saw how nervous I was. And he said, well, they read these images wrong. And you actually have damage on your spinal cord that is very apparent that matches up with your issues with your leg. And I'm going to tell you, even before this, that you have MS. So he was great, and I was so grateful to him for picking that out. The spinal tap came back irregular, and 2 days later I had my diagnosis. And it changed my life completely in every way.
Wow. You know, you've said so much here, and you are the second person I've talked to. I got to interview a few episodes back, Leslie Spracco. And she talked about her journey with colon cancer. But that
I had no idea.
The time leading up to it, all the unexplained, symptoms, I don't feel right, or this just seems weird, and going to doctors and just being not dismissed, but just kind of like glazed over.
Not taken seriously.
Not taking seriously, or no one really taking the time to dig into what is going on, so that by the time she got an actual diagnosis, she was at stage 4.
Oh my goodness.
That could have been, she's in remission and recovered and doing well, but just another story of how people just don't take the time to really assess what is going on. Who knows what could have been caught, offset, and maybe not at all, but just giving someone the piece of at least knowing what is happening.
I can't at this point stress enough that if you feel something is wrong, no one knows you better than you know yourself. And even if you are the squeakiest wheel, do it for yourself. Because I could have said, I'm too afraid to have a spinal tap. I'm going to wait. I don't know where I would be now if I had waited a year, because the damage was still occurring. I'm still suffering now with damage, even on medication. So, advocate for yourself in the medical world. Please, go tell the doctor. Even if they don't hear you, call them again the next day. This is bothering me. Look harder. Something's wrong.
Yeah. You got to stay on them. And just, I want to make sure even I have the correct understanding. MS is a neurological impairment?
It is.
Okay.
So it is an issue in your cerebral spinal fluid, which runs in your brain and your spinal cord, which it is a chronic illness of, it's a neurology. I'm like, this is where my MS gets really bad, and sometimes I lose my words and I can't express myself the way I wish I could. So I'm sorry for tripping over all of those words.
No, you're good.
Yes, where it's an illness where a specific cell in your spinal fluid attacks the myelin, which is a fatty coating on your nerves. Basically, it sees it as an enemy which is the opposite of what it is. It's protecting your nerve, and it attacks that protection, and now your nerve is exposed. So the way I try to explain it is I have a 2.3 centimeter issue on my spinal cord, and it's like, imagine, frayed wires. You cut into a wire coming out of your TV, and there's a million little copper wires coming off of there. So now those are all exposed in my back, which is sending wrong signals to my brain. So something can feel like it hurts, but there's nothing wrong with your leg in that place. It's just your brain is getting a confused message. I guess that's the most simple way to describe it. It's very complex and very overwhelming. And they call MS a snowflake disease because I can sit at a table with 6 other people with the same diagnosis, and all 6 of us have a completely different experience with the disease, which is extremely isolating and has been really hard for me, because even though I have incredible friends and family who listen to everything that I have to say, they often say they don't understand. And so it's a place where you have to have a good therapist, which I do.
Good.
And try to have the most positive outlook you can force yourself to have, because I think I've worked really, really hard on the way I see the world and the way I see my daily life, because if you get into a negative, mindset over it, I think it could just really take you down.
Yeah.
Because the future it's bleak. I mean, it is. I have, over the past 2.5 years, I've lost my ability to walk without a mobility aid, which when I was diagnosed, I was walking just fine. I was an avid hiker. I can't hike anymore. It's taken a lot from me. And I forgot where I was going with that, because this is another issue. I have a lot of problems where I'm talking and then all of a sudden I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. But that's going to be really apparent here. So I don't need to tell anyone about it.
You're not alone in that.
Okay.
Diagnosed or not.
Yeah. I'm also at a certain age.
Girl, you and me both. So you are not alone.
It's a double whammy, let me tell you.
Oh, goodness. It's a bakery. It's physical work, right?
You're
here working.
I have not given up any of my work. And I have now been, my diagnosis is secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, which essentially means 80% of people have relapsing remitting. It's called RRMS. And that means you'll have periods of symptom-free life, basically. You might have another relapse. And so then you'll have some new symptoms that you have to deal with and then recover from. But, most times with relapsing remitting, you're going to go back. Certain damage might be done, but you're going to go back to being, I say okay in quotation marks, because I would never say that about somebody that has it, that's dealing with rough stuff, because I'm sure they are. I have a progressive case. And so essentially I've not had a remission in 2.5 years. I have just been getting worse. So very disappointing. It wasn't the diagnosis I wanted. It's a more rare diagnosis. But onward, I need to do this work. I want to do this work. I have a lot of guilt over sitting around all day, and I had an eating disorder when I was younger. And so anyone with an eating disorder will tell you might be better, but you're never over it. And so sitting all day makes me have really bad thoughts about myself and really bad inner dialogue. So I want to be moving around. I want to be moving as much as I can. A lot of exercise, I've been robbed of a lot of the exercise I would do because I just physically can't do it. I struggle with stretching. Everyone always says, why don't you do more stretching? When I try to stretch, my body cramps up. I can have, my back especially feels like when you get a foot cramp, but in my back, which is terrible. So there's a lot of things with that make exercise hard. But this job is so physical that I feel like I come here and I can get out so much energy, and it is not easy. And I am not here alone anymore. And I used to really thrive in coming in and putting music on and being in my zone. And I spend about an hour in the morning alone, but I need help. The bottom line is that I know my days here are numbered now. I hear it often at home from my family, you're not going to be able to do this much longer. You have to start phasing yourself out of working, because I do get home and most days I'm done for the day. I can't think. Fatigue is so terrible that some days, I get home and it's I have enough strength to take a shower and then I'm going to sit on the couch for the next 7 hours. And I'm growing to work with that. I'm calling it self-care, which has been a really hard term for me to accept. My therapist is still trying to get me to enjoy saying self-care. I am a person who nurtures and cares for others. Yeah. So I typically put myself last. And when I talk about self-care, it leads to me feeling really selfish and guilty. So that's something I'm trying to overcome. I'm being really honest here. I mean, this is the truth. This is what it's like and what I'm going through. And so I come here and I get to make people delicious things, and they come to the window and say, oh my God, my grandmother used to make something just like this. And it reminds me of when I was a kid. Or I'm really trying to capture a feeling here. I often think that I'm selling emotion with a side of cake. It's you want a feeling. It's a feeling inside. It's a hug. It's a feeling of being cared for through food. And that's what I'm trying to create. I'm not trying to make the best cookie you've ever had in your life, or because there is no best. There, so many of them are good. I'm trying to give you the feeling of somebody cares for you. Yeah. Somebody made this and you get to enjoy it. And through that, there is some sort of love being transferred.
Yeah. And I love that because there's so many emotions that get translated through food, particularly sweets and baked goods. It is, something went wrong and I feel terrible. Is something went great
I need
and
a treat.
Feel
I
amazing.
deserve a little treat. Yep.
These kids are working on me and I'm going to go close the bathroom door and sneak away.
Exactly.
And have a piece, a little bit of peace with this cookie. So I would imagine you've had to do a lot of creative solutioning to keep this going. I felt like I saw on an Instagram post, you were in here at one point on roller skates.
I was.
And I'm like,
I have a weird walking thing where I can, if you saw me on stairs, you'd think there's nothing wrong with me. Like I go to the movie theater and I love to sit, I only sit in the last row and I walk in, with a cane struggling, but then I just can book up the stairs. No issues with stairs. A flat ground is like hot lava for me. My body does not remember. And because of pain, I can't walk forward very well unless I have like a shopping cart. The other thing is people see me at the grocery store all the time. I'm very like visible on Instagram and live in a small town. So I am pretty visible here. And I look fine if I have a shopping cart. We're going to actually thinking about getting a shopping cart, a small one for the kitchen for me to use instead of my rollator. Okay. So like I can put things in the basket as I go around the kitchen. Okay. If I'm holding on to something, my problem is relieved. But on my own, like at my house, like I definitely drag myself around and it's depressing. There are times where it's like, oh, you wait forever to go to the bathroom just because you know how hard it is to get there. So I just I don't want to get up and walk all the way there. Or to be honest, I laugh about it at this point more than anything. I do allow myself some time to feel really sad and I do a good amount of crying, but I dust myself off and I get back to a better mental place. It's like, yes, you're allowed to cry. You're allowed to feel sorry for yourself, but the outcome of feeling that way every day is that's not the life I want to live. And I'm 47. I feel like I have so much life left to live. And I really want my kids to see what resilience means. Nobody has a perfect time. Nobody has it easy. So what does it look like when you're faced with something that feels insurmountable? It looks like you still get up in the morning and the things I want and the person I am have not changed at all. So I'm going to find any way I can to just go around. I may not be able to go over it, but maybe I can go under it. Maybe I can go around it. I'm going to find a way. And I have such an incredible, supportive team here that they just don't let me down and they don't let me fail and they don't let me feel bad for myself. And so I'd say laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah. Your community really has shown up for you. I read they raised money to like renovate your kitchen.
Yep. So we had tile floors in here, which were just terrible. They had been here forever. And because I drag my feet or slide my feet were getting stuck in the grout. And so I'm like, it's only a matter of time till I fall here. Most people with MS fall anyway. I'm setting myself up for a disaster. So last year, again, completely on a whim, I started a GoFundMe. I felt really nervous about it. I never want to ask for anything. Like that's another thing that is very hard is to like, do you want to hold your hand out? You're growing this successful business and growing a successful business, it doesn't mean people are wealthy or that they have any extra money on the side because we don't. So I was like,
the opposite.
Right. It is the opposite. So I'm like, well, we don't have money to do this, but this feels like something the community came out for me. I've been open about my MS diagnosis since day one. And they showed up and we raised, I don't even remember now. I want to say we raised like $30,000 or something.
Comma money.
Yeah, it was good. And they were able to help me do the floors, which was a huge ordeal and it was extremely expensive, but I have beautiful pink glitter floors now.
Yes, you do.
and I can get around on them a lot better. And that is not lost on me. I mean, I'm forever grateful to this community. Napa is amazing. The friends I've made through this, the connections, it blows me away all the time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I mean, pink glitter floors.
Who doesn't want that?
Who doesn't want that?
Right.
That is all the things. yes, the community support from people individually, is helpful. But I also read that you got a lot of support in the way of advising and resources from the Solano Napa Small Business Development Center, which, even if we take your impairment out of it, just that kind of support for entrepreneurs in a business is key. So talk about how they've helped you not just grow, but grow in a way that really centered your goals for the business.
So the thing I would recommend to anyone wanting to start a business, especially a food business or any business, reach out to the SBDC. They will they'll ask you a bunch of questions and they will connect you with an advisor who has experience directly in your field. I lucked out and I got an advisor. Her name is Annie Manuzzo. She's been with me since 2021. Mm-hmm. We're so close. She is like a pseudo mom to me. We get off the phone and she says, I love you. So we have really developed a relationship. I can be completely myself with her at this point, which isn't always nice, but we very honest conversations. And she has guided me from like the most basic beginning things of, you want to open your business bank account at a different bank than your personal bank account. Like there are so many little things along the way that are so helpful to know that you wouldn't know. You bank with a certain bank and you want to start a business and you go and you say, I'm going to open another account for this business. And that is not what you want to do. So everything from permitting to, guidance in what direction you want to move. When you start this business, do you want to have a regular bakery? Do you want to, go into the CPG world, which is what I want to do? And they will, if they can't help you directly, they will find someone to help you. If you need help with budgeting and the financial aspect of your business, they will put you with someone who just does, food business finances. Mm-hmm. So they have someone for everything. It's completely free. And I can never say enough about it because honestly, even just to have a sounding board. If they can provide you with nothing else than having someone to call on the phone and say, X, Y, and Z happened, I don't know what to do, they're going to be there for you. And to not have to pay a bill at the end of that conversation, to also have it be through the government and something that a free resource, that's invaluable in this world. Because I'll tell you, everything comes with a bill.
$1. Yeah, I know that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely a resource people should be using. I know so many entrepreneurs that have, starting out, some of them are first generation business owners, they're in it and they're kind of learning and figuring it out as you go. So, a resource where you don't necessarily have to do everything alone.
You'll always be figuring it out as you go. I mean, I would just say, even with what I've learned in 6 years, I know nothing. I'm sometimes like, who let me have the keys to this business? I don't know what I'm doing. But, you just, tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's always another day. And there's always another way to think through something or to re-envision it or, it's all hope is never lost, I would say.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep hope alive.
Yeah.
I read that you shared the diagnosis on social media the day you got it, which I thought, okay, because it would have been, I don't know if I would say easier, but it would have been an option to just hold it until you couldn't hold it anymore. What made you feel like I'm going to give this up from the gate?
Well, so when I started to have issues with my leg, like I said, this community, I've become friends with a lot of the people. And my Instagram was a place that I was sharing like genuine, honest stories and things like that. And so when I had this issue, the first thing I did was I went on Instagram and I asked my followers, like, what could this be? Should I see an acupuncturist? Should I? And so they were kind of in the loop of the diagnosis process in terms of I've been going through this weird thing and I don't know what it is and they don't know what's wrong with me. So when I got the diagnosis, I would say immediately I also had, instead of being sad or fearful, it was almost like an adrenaline rush because I had been waiting for 3 months and finally there was something to latch onto. Now we know what it is. So like information is power. Now I can actually do something about this. Well, I thought I could. I found out that it's not really like that. But so yeah, I wanted to share it. I wanted, and I continue to share Because when I was going through this, I desperately hoped and wished that I could find more people who were being honest about it, who were saying things that I could relate to. Mm-hmm. But MS is a disease that a lot of people hide. They're embarrassed. They don't want to lose their job. They don't know what's ahead. And so there is a shame involved, which I never felt. I don't really feel shame about anything I go through because I don't want to feel alone. So the more I share and am honest, it's amazing how many people will come out of the woodwork and share theirs with you then. And then there's so much strength and power in being surrounded by people who are also going through things. But if you never reveal those things yourself, you'll always feel alone because you have to share sometimes for others to share with you. I've always been a person that people opened up to. Mm-hmm. I'm really a people person and a loner, but
got a little bit of both.
Yeah, and so I didn't feel any qualms about opening up about it. It's been a gift in so many ways because I've gotten to know myself so much better through sharing what I'm going through. It's like, what do I need? What drives me? And I don't need to feel embarrassed about any of it. We're all going through our own things. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to feel comfortable in my own skin and to feel like this is what you're going to see when I'm in public. And I don't want to have to answer questions about it, whereas if I'm telling you everything, you already know. Mm-hmm. You already know I have MS. So when I'm getting through a restaurant and it's taking me forever with my cane, the people that may recognize me there, they already know. Yeah. They're not like whispering and, oh, what's wrong with her? And because I do look really awkward walking with a cane, and it has been a really tough thing to swallow how I appear to others. Mm. And so it helps me accept myself, and at the end of the day, the more years that I go through life, my goal is really just total acceptance of who I am and being comfortable in my own skin. And this is part of that for me.
Yeah. Good for you. Because holding the weight of kind of trying to hold, could you imagine trying to hide this?
No.
It would take over, suck up all the energy.
I couldn't even begin to do that. I don't even know how sick inside that would make me. This is already a disease that is affected terribly by stress. So trying to hide it on top of it, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
No, I don't recommend that really to anyone because you will find that when you have the courage to be open, you realize how so not alone you are, So it's important.
Yeah. Well, you are not alone. You've been able to find some community with some well-known folks who know all too well what it's like to live with MS. You appeared on the Messy podcast. I got to listen to that episode last night, which is hosted by two actresses I feel like we've known for years, Christina Applegate and Jamie Lynn Sigler. Mm-hmm. I loved the conversation because y'all were finishing each other's sentences because even though you said it is different for everyone, some of the experiential pieces of being dismissed by doctors, feeling good about finally having an answer, and how it has impacted your personal relationships, I could see where y'all had so much overlap and shared experience.
Oh, yeah. It was great talking to them. I got interviewed by the Chronicle. So that was like sort of the first piece is that the Chronicle approached me about doing an article about me. Mm-hmm. And it started out, I think, kind of small, but then I became obviously so open that the story grew and we mentioned the podcast in the article. And the writer and I, Elena, we had just like joked, like, wouldn't it be so cool if they saw it? Mm. And so I'm always seeking the thing out. So I went online onto their website and I sent them the article and said, I just wanted you guys to see this. Oh. And so then one afternoon I was sitting at my house and I saw Jamie Lynn Sigler started following you. And I was like, they saw the article. And then they reached out and said, we'd love to talk to you. And that was, there's certain moments like along the way that happen that feel so like such a win. Mm-hmm. And that was really like, wow, we did it. I'm going to get to talk to them. And I still talk to Jamie on and off. So she is I mean, she's living it. She just came out with her book, and they both actually just had books come out. But she's someone who hid her diagnosis for 15 years.
Wow.
And I mean, the two of us couldn't be more different in that regard. She wanted no one to know. And I completely understand that thought. And also she was in her 20s. And so in my 20s, my brain was very different than I am in my 40s. And probably I wouldn't have shared it then. But talking to them was a dream. I'm sorry that the three of us have MS, but here we are.
Yeah. Wow. The things that an unfortunate situation brings about that are you're so fortunate to then have.
Yeah. I feel like I have been gifted so many things because of having multiple sclerosis. I mean, gifted so many things for myself in my outlook, in the way that I view time. Like I really, really live in the moment now 100% more than I ever did before. I realize at like a very real level that we have no control. And I'm a controlling person. And so to have that juxtaposition of like, I've been so good at controlling so many aspects of my life for so long. And this thing comes and I realize that there is no amount of worry, planning, thought, anything that could have changed this. And we are not in control. So I've learned a lot about letting go. Like everything will work out. Everything always has worked out for me. And I think a lot of people in their lives can say, you know, I was so worried about this thing happening, but it didn't. And so I'm learning as a very worried person. I've always like thought about the future and worried about this and that and planning and making sure to manipulate all the things so that the right thing happens. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen is going to happen. So to be in this moment and to say right now in this moment, it's beautiful outside. My kids are healthy. My husband is healthy. My parents are still here. I have so much gratitude in that thought and in those thoughts that I provide for myself every day, that it's made me a better version of myself. Yeah. And so I don't want to say to the universe that I'm grateful for it, but I am grateful for the person that it's helping me become. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And I love that you said, I'm a controlling person. I think that gets misinterpreted a lot of times when people say that as I'm trying to have control over you, and all these external things. When you said that, I identify with that as well. I'm a controlling person because, you know, I want my life to feel and look a certain way. So I'm going to actively do the things and not do the things that are going to contribute to it looking the way it does. And I'm going to plan for certain things and not plan for other things because I don't want those outcomes. So when you lose that, it's the agency that you feel. And I think a lot of times that paradigm of being controlling gets accredited to something, but it actually is a thing that can really help your life look the way you want it to look.
It's also control out of fear. You know, like I'm trying to control all of these things because at the end of the day, I'm afraid that if I don't, the thing I need to happen, the thing I want to happen, it's not going to. Yes. Whereas I've learned over the last few years that letting things go and knowing that things happen at the right time as they're supposed to, they really do. They really do. And the more I believe it, the more it shows itself as that. And so it's helped me, like I said, to be a better version of myself. I like who I am now more than who I was before.
Wow.
Which is a really hard thing to say and something that, you know, would I give it back if I could and be the other person? I would, because my life was easier. But I do strive to be a better person, a better version of myself. And this is making me that. And so it's at least rewiring my brain in a way that has helped me see things through a different lens. And I would not have that ability without this. I mean, for sure, this gives you a perspective that someone without it or without a chronic illness or something like that happening, you have to see it as a gift or it will be the polar opposite of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it definitely has gotten you to thinking about the next frontier of your business. You mentioned wanting to go to a CPG brand. I saw you talking recently about an almost moment with Williams Sonoma, but scaling this kind of business, scaling any business, food business into a CPG is difficult. Co-packers, white label, all the things that are considerations. When you think about what this looks like, is it like, let me hurry up and put a plan in place for that so that when I get to the point that I can't maybe produce anymore, that can be how my product still lives in the world?
So yes, I would say that is the other thing, is time is not on my side. I have progressed to the point that it's becoming more apparent to everyone that a year from now, I'm probably not going to be still doing production on a daily basis, just based on how much I've progressed with my illness. And at the end of the day, being as healthy as I can is still like paramount. I mean, I can't be here working in a wheelchair. And I have come to a place of understanding that, very much a wheelchair could be in my future. So I feel the clock ticking constantly. And it's sort of like twofold. I am in a rush to get to the place that I need to go, that I envision the company going to. But I've also learned through my experience with Williams Sonoma, especially, that I can't rush these things. That you can't go from point A to point F. There's steps in between that have to happen. And I have to have faith that the right people are going to be, show up in my life and going to be there to guide me and get me to that next place. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm sort of in this place of my huge dream, I know may not be possible anymore, but I don't know. I'm still working towards those things, but with the clock ticking quickly behind my head and also a slower pace, because I can't really run to those goals anymore. And the fact that Williams Sonoma approached me, which happened last July, and that after months of driving to the city and bringing them samples and working with them, that they said, we love you, we want you to be a brand with us, that gave me, oh my gosh, that filled my tank. Amazing. Just because at the end of the day, it didn't work out. And the reason it didn't work out is because we don't have a great system in place for shipping frozen goods across the country. And, when you're working with a large company like that, it's a drop ship. So we would have to do all the shipping. And we were not able to figure that out in the timeline needed. And so at the end of the day, it's like, I can't put product out all over the country to people who've been following me and have it be bad. Yeah. That is going to hurt me more than saying, hold up, we're not ready for this. I want to be ready for this. I'm ready to be the face of my brand on a national stage tomorrow. But the brand isn't ready for that. Got it. So we sort of have to just recalibrate and figure out how to get there. And maybe somebody will listen to this and say I can help you. And that's how I look at everything. Every opportunity that comes my way, I say yes, because it's always the universe opening a door to something you don't see coming. So yeah, I'm personally ready, but the business will be there when it's there. Yeah. This is,
wow, this is so good. Because people, you're an entrepreneur and you work and you have goals for your business, and the big names knock at the door and people don't want to miss the opportunity, but you skip steps, it could be a boomerang effect.
It could have derailed us. To be honest, It could have derailed us. And I when we looked hard at all of the things, all of the pieces of the puzzle, it was yes, I'm disappointed, but I have great relief because, hey, I foolishly, as a human being, was so excited that I did want to announce it. And I announced it as soon as we signed our deal. And now I've had to backtrack, but that's me. And I'm you know what? I'm not embarrassed about backtracking because stuff happens, it just wasn't meant to be right now. And I am just a really big kind of woo-woo believer in what's meant to be will be. And when it's right, it feels right. And when it's not right, it in your gut. And I knew that. But I was really starstruck. And I thought, you know, I started this from a Facebook post in my house. It's always been my dream and my calling since I was 10 years old. And this is so incredible. And just getting the call was incredible. And now the rest, whatever. Something else is going to come along that's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Like you said.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
It's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have, I'm sure people tell you this all the time, you have such the right outlook on this, but I'm sure you have your moments. Are you scared of what's coming next?
I'm terrified. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I'm scared of the people that love me not loving me anymore when things get worse. I'm scared of my kids seeing what happens to me. I don't want my parents to see me wind up in a wheelchair. I don't know why. Like, I know I follow a lot of people who are paralyzed who use wheelchairs, and they're incredible, and they empower me to say, like, there's nothing to be afraid of. But there's a lot of, the fear is in the unknown. It's like this disease can do so many terrible things to a person. And so the not knowing what my story is going to be is what's scary. But, you know, when I talked to Jamie and Christina, you know, I said it to them too. Jamie was like, worrying about what's next is robbing yourself of the moment. And that's why, like I said, I've really been forcing myself to live in the moment. What is today? Today was a great day. I laughed with one of my best friends who is my business partner. I made delicious things. The weather's nice. You know, there's nothing to complain about today. And I have to take my fear and say, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, because it's not here now. So I can be fearful about, you know, losing control of my bladder, or, like I said, winding up in a wheelchair, or any of the myriad things that can happen. But the truth is, I don't know what any of those things are. So spending time and energy on those thoughts is robbing me of so much. So my goal is that, yes, I have them. I allow myself to feel them. Sometimes I cry every day by myself. But then I move forward. Then I say, you know, I'm not staying in this mindset. I control my thoughts, and these are not helpful. They're not helpful for my disease. They're not helpful for my family. They're not helpful for me. And so I changed my mindset, and I've become really masterful at that.
Yeah.
And I escape into TV a lot. And
what are you watching?
Well, I'm really obsessed with Outlander. And anyone who hears this that knows me is going to laugh right now.
Why? Because they know that's your show?
That is my show. I found it like a million years after it came out, and I watched 101 episodes in 2 months. And now I'm on the third book. Yes, Outlander is my escape. Time travel, romance, war. I love it all.
Don't you love when you find a show that's been out for a long time, and then you don't have to be waiting for, you know, the streamers to put out new seasons?
If I had to wait watching this show, I mean, somebody would have had to tie me down.
Oh,
no.
gosh.
It's so good.
You know, a show I found so much later, years later. It was during the pandemic, The Wire.
Oh, I've heard that's a great show.
It was a great show, but like it took me, you know, weeks and weeks because it was a full, I think, 5 seasons of a show. And I was like, oh, great. I could just take this in little bits and pieces.
It's so good, though, when you come to the end of a season and it's a cliffhanger, you're like, nope,
right.
I'm starting right now.
Wow. Okay, good for you. So you have your outlets.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Lots of reading. I've found that reading is actually like, I've always loved books, but reading is the best escape. Yeah, it's my favorite escape now. When I'm reading, I'm unable to scroll or really do anything that could like distract me. So it takes me away 100%, especially I suffer from a lot of pain, and it's like reading is the prescription. Yeah.
Nice.
Books. Get to the bookstore.
Well, you know, you certainly have, you know, made it, you know, skated right on by things that, you know, have just taken a lot of other people out. The COVID what that has done to people's businesses, and yours is still flourishing. The diagnosis, you have found workarounds to continue to do what it is that you love. What are you most hopeful will come out of this time in your life?
I'm most hopeful that I can create like a legacy business for my kids to take over. I want this business to survive me, to survive and make it to my grandkids. Yeah. That's my goal, is that it becomes something where kids who come here now grow up and bring their kids back and have memories of it. So that's really the goal at the end of the day. Yes, I want a national brand. I'll say it 1,000 times. And I know it's going to happen. But for the people that take care of us and support us in this town, that's what I'm hoping for.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
I know it is.
I see you at the top, Rory.
I believe it.
2 New Yorkers.
Exactly.
I love it. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Tell people where they can find out more about you and the bakery.
Rory'sBakehouse.com, or you can follow us at Rory's Bakehouse on Instagram or Facebook, where I'm very active on Instagram. And if you want to see delicious baked goods and my ridiculous personality, tune in.
Well, look, I will make sure to share that with the show notes. I'm here after your operating hours for the day. I was trying to schedule this interview where I could come up here and buy things.
Oh, we're going to get you stuff. Don't worry. I'll still get you things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll be back in Napa at the end of this week. So I was already thinking, okay, I need to come back early enough so I can double back. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate it. If y'all want to keep up with me in between episodes, you can find me at kayinthebay.com or on Instagram at heykayinthebay. This has been an amazing episode of the As Told By podcast from Napa at Rory's Bakehouse. And I'll see y'all on the next episode.